Hello, welcome to Hotline FN, the live call-in show for your hot takes, bold predictions, and unpopular opinions surrounding the competitive Fortnite scene. This is episode 23, and we've got some impressive guests. As always, we've got the incredible caster and entire event host now, post Dreamhack, Balla TW, and we've got the fantastic competitor, player, streamer. He's active on Twitter, kinda? Liquid Vivid. Hey guys, welcome to Hotline.
Yo, what's up?
Yo. Balla, it's
Hello.
been a week since we've done the episodes, right? We're here, we're rolling again. What have you been up to? Obviously, Dreamhack was huge.
Yeah, just got back from Dreamhack and that was crazy. So we just did the entire stream, basically like covered as much as we could, as best as we could with the scuffed setup Dreamhack Anaheim. So that was the last week. You guys obviously saw me basically at the beginning of that, where I was in Anaheim with Shio in the hotel. So that's last week in a nutshell.
That's it. That's the one. You didn't lie. You were like, I was like, what are you gonna do next week? And you were like, I'm gonna do Dreamhack. And I was like, that's all. And you were like, that's all. And now here you are saying that's all. So we're there. We did it.
Exactly.
How about you, Vivid? What have you been up to in this last week, man?
Well, I was at Dreamhack too.
No.
So Balla there, but yeah, I was. I know, crazy. Hung out at Dreamhack, didn't do too well, but hung out with a lot of people there, and yeah, basically just been up to no good. Other than that, I mean, just hanging out, vibing.
Solemnly swear you've been up to no good. Disguised
Yep.
Harry Potter references going on here. Well, that's fun. That's great. Before we hop in and start talking about Fortnite good and proper, remind everyone the format of the show. This is a call-in show. We don't want to answer your questions. We want to debate and talk about your takes, your predictions, and your opinions. Exclamation point Hotline FN in the chat gets you a link to the Discord to submit your topic. So roll on through. I think it's important, fellas, first thing we should start with here, like let's talk a little bit about Dreamhack. Obviously, so Balla, you and Shio flew out there. You had the most ridiculous setup. You had your phones shining flashlights on you the whole time. You got one shout out tweet from Fortnite Competitive. So let's go. That's like the most they've tweeted about competitive events in a while. So that's sweet.
Yeah.
So I mean, what was? I mean, can you talk a little bit about what the experience was like? What was the vibe there? I'm jealous. It looked like a blast.
Yeah, it was tons of fun. Probably, to be honest, one of the best competitive Fortnite tournaments we've had now. I mean, even better than World Cup in my opinion in terms of the storyline development. Obviously not
Oh
in
yeah.
terms of like the overall like hype and stuff like that, but that ending was ridiculous. Mr. Savage won. He won the last game and won the tournament and actually killed Benji Fishy, his former teammate and former duo partner, in the last top 3 situation. So it was pretty crazy. I don't know what else to say about Dreamhack because other than best tournament of all time.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that one huge takeaway is that the way you guys approached, you and Shio approached covering Dreamhack with the constant interviews, constant conversations with players, it pushed these storylines stronger than any event we've ever had, honestly. Like, you didn't have to know a ton coming into the event. We could just tune in, watch, and you would talk to the players, and the players would tell them who's landing on them, who they're fighting, who to look out for. That was great. Vivid, how was your run, man? How was day 1, day 2?
So to start this all off, Dreamhack was probably the least prepared I've been for an event. I talked about a little bit about this, but I mean, yeah, I kind of was like taking a mental break from Fortnite prior to the event, which I think was like well needed, and I'm pretty sure like I'm back and I'm like motivated again, and I feel good about playing again. It feels like I'm not gonna burn out if I keep playing. But Dreamhack was really fun. Never been to Anaheim, so that was the first for me.
Nice.
It was kind of like near LA though, so almost like the same thing. But it was BYOC, and there was like 1,200 people there, or I don't know the exact amount of players, but there was a lot. There's a lot of people there. And I know Balla touched on it a little bit, but mentioning that like it was probably one of our most competitive events yet, which is really crazy. And I kind of want to agree and disagree. In one way, I want to agree because it was so comfortable. Like I showed up there and how I was playing, and when I was playing, it felt like I was at home. That's probably because like I had like an exact replica of my setup. Basically, I was allowed to bring any peripherals that I wanted. I was literally just brought them from home straight up into there, And then Liquid was nice enough to bring us a monitor and a PC, which is
Nice.
literally the exact ones we have at home because they're based out of LA, so they just like drove it down for us and stuff like that. So it was really comfortable playing, to be honest. And then I want to kind of talk about how it like wasn't the most competitive event yet, simply because, and I think I talked about a little bit about this when we were out in Anaheim, but when you have 1,200 people queuing into random games, basically what you get is a lot of randomness in the sense one game I might be contested and the next I might not be contested. And you're probably like, well, that's Fortnite, right? You get contested, somebody lands on you. And I'm like, yeah, that's completely normal. But in my case, like on Friday, the first open day, I was like top 50 the whole time through my first like 5 games. Like I was doing really freaking well. And then the last 5 games, I died off spawn, which just like really sucked. And like I said, that's part of Fortnite. But I know there's like a ton of people out there who went all 10 of their games without even ever getting contested. So, you know, there's pros and cons to it. But overall, I think I played extremely freaking well at Anaheim. Like I'm not even kidding. Like I was really impressed by my own gameplay. I was playing super well. I played late games and stuff like that super well. I just got caught off spawn, like I mentioned, a bunch, and then I got caught mid game to some random stuff sometimes too. Which honestly, I'm just trying to chalk it up to stuff that I couldn't really control. Like I've thought about it nonstop for like 4 days about what I could have done differently, and I can't come to a conclusion. So I think I'm gonna go with unlucky on those mid games.
Did you?
I think that's what I'm gonna go with.
Were you able to record any of those games, save them for later, or?
Dude, it sucked, man. Because we had to go onto a separate client basically. So we had like a Fortnite client, and there's called a Fortnite public test client. And when you loaded onto there, all your settings weren't saved or anything like that. So like change your keybinds and stuff like that. And my replays were off, and I didn't notice it until like the second day. But I was really interested in like going back and like checking stuff out and like VOD reviewing, but my replays were off the whole time, so I couldn't even do that. And after the first day, like I noticed that they were off, and I was like, oh, they must be turned off for everybody, right? Like they probably don't want people going back and like viewing. I was like, okay, it's normal. And then like the second day, I saw somebody watching their stuff back, and I was like, whoa, what the hell?
Hold up.
So
and
that kind of
replays were on too. Like they're on for everybody, but they were disabled.
No.
You can't even grab them anymore. So it sucks. Feels bad.
Yeah, touching on the Dreamhack being the most competitive, potentially the most competitive event we've had so far, it's really interesting to me because at face value, I'm tempted to say, or I think people could be tempted to say, that a bring your own computer setup is inherently worse than forced peripherals. And it's like give and take, right? Because there's a lot that goes into renting or bringing your entire setup, right? Like it's either really expensive or really risky, right? And so that's weird, but then like you're still playing on your own gear at least. So it's kind of a toss up. In the end, I think that the games themselves are the most competitive we've had. The format still needs work with the event itself.
That we don't need forced peripherals ever again, right? Like,
I hope not.
If you have to have, like, if you can get 1,200 people to set up by a specific time and ready to queue, then like, why would you not be able to get them to set up a mouse and keyboard? Like, I don't understand the argument that bringing your own peripherals makes logistics too hard for events.
Yeah.
And obviously World Cup proved that. And I think we need to stop that whole practice in Comp Fortnite. But like going to the actual like point about the competitive, the solo cash cup format type of thing for the 2 qualifying rounds, the quarters and the semifinals. I don't know. I feel like there's not really too many more ways you can do it besides cash cup format, at least for the quarters. I feel like for the semis down to 400, that's when you can be like, yeah, let's do groups. Let's do that. Because then it obviously would be way more competitive. So I like agree and I disagree. I clearly think there's better ways than quarters and semis, but at the same time, it's like easy. Fortnite has in the game, like let's just do it, right? And I don't necessarily think I agree with Vivid saying, unlucky, right? I think if you go back and watch those, I feel like there's definitely some things you can do not to die of spawn, but hey, you're Vivid, man.
Oh yeah, like all spawn stuff. Yeah, I will say I messed up like 2 or 3 times or something like that. But no, like really, like I 100% agree. And like, dude, I kid you not, when I say I've been thinking about it for 4 days straight.
Yeah.
Every single one that I can remember.
Killing you.
and I don't have the replays. I can't. I'm just based off memory, and man, like
My memory says luck.
yeah, I just can't, man.
Hey, I mean, you could have blamed it on heavy snipers in C4, if it happened a week later, but you're unlucky
Yeah.
enough to not have easy RNG blames.
Oh, dude,
Okay.
how sick was it that we were allowed to play on an old build?
That
too,
is actually incredible. That is a huge step in the right direction, which feels kind of weird given how season 2 has gone so far, but we haven't had an event yet, so I guess we'll see. But yeah, that was huge. That came out of nowhere. I was honestly really surprised. I thought it was a fake tweet or something at first when they had announced that.
Super cool of them to do that, and it was so easy too because they just straight up linked it to our main accounts, and we could just download the public test like that. So super easy.
That's way nice, actually. It would have been cool to see them, release it a little early so people could be in the future, improvements would be releasing it early so people could pre-download it, maybe even continue to practice on the old patch depending on, when you show up and that kind of stuff. But
yeah,
but otherwise, it was incredible. I think that's a huge deal. All right, Balla, we ready for the first caller of the evening?
Yeah, let's get into some hot takes. Unpopular opinions.
Welcome to the hotline. What's your name and what are you calling about?
Hello, I'm Cop, and I'm calling from Auckland, New Zealand.
Whoa.
And I'm here to talk about OC is evolving, and I think we'll see a massive wave of the top tier pros of the region leaving to go to NAE and Europe and stuff.
Why do you think that? Why do you think that OC is evolving?
Well, I think so. During the World Cup, our scrims was so bad, and our player pool was so bad. I don't think people understood how bad we were. There was console players getting top 150 and stuff, but now our scrims are getting a lot better, and there's a new development on it called the Kano Pro League, which is all the top tier pros, and they're going real hard on the scrims, actually good quality scrims, and people's game sense and how they're playing stacked lobbies is catching up. And obviously we had the success of Jarl and Zara and Papi and NA, and then good performances at AO, and then good performances at Dreamhack with Repulse, Alec, and Jinx. So I think top tier pros are getting more and more confident in their ability. So I think they're just going to leave for the bigger prize pools.
Yeah, I mean, one thing to kind of add on to your take here, because I kind of tend to agree with you, which is it's just an interesting phenomenon almost, is that their performance, the very fact that we had multiple OCE players qualify for finals at Dreamhack even, given the relative size of their player base, is wild, right? It's wild. It doesn't even compare. I feel like having 2, 3, 4 people in the, what was it, 4 total in the finals of Dreamhack from OCE? Or is it just...
I think it was 4, yeah.
4? 3?
4?
3.
Okay. That's disproportionate as hell, right? If you just compare player bases, right? Even if you just compare numbers of people in scrims from NA West to OCE to NA East, that's ridiculously disproportionate. It means something about the region, or
I mean, 50%
maybe not.
of the OC qualified for finals, and then all 3 of them to qualify for finals placed in top 20. So yeah, kind of nuts. But again, it's a small sample size of people who came. I think for sure the issues in OC still are there, right? The majority of the region is probably not very good, but the top of the top, probably pretty damn good, especially given the results of Dreamhack Anaheim and AO. I wouldn't put too much into that, given that there was way more OC players and also that it was a weaker competitive
Invite
tournament.
Only, yeah.
But yeah, I think OC is here to play, man. I think they should move, if anything.
Yeah.
I think for the majority of it though, I think the whole Omega LOL OCE thing has always been like you mentioned, the general public of the region, just because there's not a lot of people that play on OCE, and we were talking a little bit about population size a little bit before the show even started, about how it can affect the skill level of the players there. But for sure, I highly doubt that the general public will ever be as good as NA or EU. But ever since last year's AO, I think it was very obvious that when it was Jesse that popped off in
Yeah,
the last
Jesse.
AO.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jesse. When he did really well, I think everybody was like, okay, the top of the OC guys can definitely like play, like
can
for
hang,
sure.
yeah.
Like they know what they're doing, yeah. But as far as like general public goes, we'll see what happens. But it'll be really hard for the general public to get good just because you guys just don't have that many people playing over there.
Sure. I mean, these top tier OCE players, I mean, you guys are both coming from the viewpoint that they're strong outliers, right? I wonder what the situation is. I mean, this almost becomes a nature versus nurture kind of conversation. But like, why aren't we seeing similar amounts of crazy cracked players from other, I guess you could call them minor, and by population only regions, right? Like we've seen like 1 or 2 people out of South America. I haven't seen a ton out of Asian regions or like Middle East. Or maybe I'm just like ignorant and those people just haven't had the opportunity to compete internationally. I don't know, Balla, you think there's something special about these OCE players? They're doing something right in their minor region that other people aren't? Or do you think it just comes down to them individually?
I think it just comes down to them individually. I think there's a certain question of like, oh, if they don't have the good practice, like even now, like even with cano scrims that Cop referred to, I don't know. I feel like you can't stay ahead of the curve as well as somebody who's playing on NA East with Pracord and Elite scrims and stuff like that, just because that's where people are trying the most tactics, the most new stuff, all that thing. I just think it's interesting that individual players can play so well without being even able to see, like Repulscott, who placed 4th this weekend. He said he's never even played a game as stacked as in Dreamhack, and they could still play well without ever experiencing that. And we see that in a lot of different games too. Like Korean players come over from Korea into a EU tournament or an NA tournament in Counter-Strike or whatever, and they do relatively well with the tactics. They end up like being in this like, I don't know, isolation chamber where you don't really know how they play. I don't know if that ever like affects people in BRs because you never really know who you're fighting and you just do the same thing no matter what. But
Sure.
I think at World Cup that kind of people felt that a little bit with the Asian players W King a little bit too much. I don't know.
You know what I think helps that so much is that streaming in Fortnite being so
Prevalent.
like
Yeah, true.
popular.
Yeah.
Like for example, you always have Tfue streaming scrims, Booga, Chap, all like tier 1 players arguably. And like if you just took the time out of your day to just watch what they do during the scrims, then you can pretty much like learn from that. Like you don't have to scrim yourself. I mean, obviously scrimming is going to be better in terms of learning and stuff like that, but you can still learn. Like there are still ways in Fortnite to learn, and watching streams from tier 1 players is probably one of the ways that like OCE players have just put in time watching and like getting better. So you mentioned like he's never been in a stacked game like that before, but I can almost guarantee you that he's watched some streams, whether or not he knew he was learning or not. He may have just been casually watching Tfue and like just picked up on something, and he didn't even like realize that he did.
Yeah.
And then he went into like Dreamhack Anaheim and just slayed out and played really well.
Yeah, I think you bring up a great point. Obviously, physical practice is the best. Like actual like doing it is awesome. But we have access in not just Fortnite but esports in general to like an unprecedented level of availability of VOD reviewing like your competition basically, right? Anyone who could potentially be better than you basically have access to see exactly how they do it, right? Like the basketball equivalent is for every moment of every game for a lot of streamers, you can see exactly what their mindset was like. You can see exactly how they were holding the ball, like the settings of how they tie their shoes, like whatever you need, like we have the equivalent in Fortnite, which is pretty incredible to me. I don't know. All right, Cop, thanks so much for bringing this take. I think that you're right. We're going to see a lot of these players from OCE move over and start winning big bucks.
Cheers. Vivid Streamline, miss your cute little face.
Oh, God. There it is.
All right, we got our next caller.
I'm just saying, dude, I was in the middle of a T1 scrim there, and I'm talking to Balla. Balla's asking me what my take is. It's moving zones. There's 40 people moving zones.
Oh, no.
Way, I'm happy to be here.
What's your take, boss?
My take is, wow, you don't even care where I'm from or where I am?
Okay, all right, my bad. We'll back it up. What's the name and where are you from?
I am Muvanji or Joel, and I am from Toronto, Ontario. And my take is that I don't know if you guys are gonna like this one. It's pretty hot, but I think that it would better to be having like it better for competitive to have like FNCS, like solo FNCS, duos FNCS, like rolling, like you know which one is coming. There's a set schedule for the year, and then but like I think it's better to have that maybe than even World Cup. Like it's better to know what's coming and have those rolling than Epic just sitting silent for 3 months and being like, oh yeah, you know what, World Cup 2020, here we go. Let's make it happen. Like I think it'd be better to have those nonstop, know what's coming.
I think, I mean, right off the top, I think that anything is better than 3 months of silence, right? Whether we want to, like just lump that in with, you know, holiday break or whatever, like anything is better than 3 months of silence. But Balla, do you think that just having consistent, constant, and scheduled FNCS would be better than having a World Cup? I don't think they have to be exclusive, but that's the take here.
I've been preaching that forever, man. Like this is something that I've been saying forever. I feel like it's way more healthy to develop the actual competitive scene with real consistent events where we can watch and figure out exactly how this works. And then maybe every once in a while, like at the end, we have boom, all the people who qualified by playing well through FNCS.
Yeah, exactly.
And have this big shebang at the end, $30 million. Let's go. Then, one thing randomly, then no topics at all, no tournaments at all. I don't know. I agree with you, Tim. Like anything is better than now, but I think we should have started with smaller FNCS, a lot more TwitchCons, a lot more PAX Wests, then one big World Cup in 2019 to, I don't know. It feels like it was the end of real competitive Fortnite. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean,
like don't oh sorry, like I don't feel like at the end. Like I really enjoyed. I didn't play trios, but I really enjoyed spectating it. Like it was one of the. I don't know. I think I even enjoyed trios maybe more than. Okay, that's a lie. I think I definitely enjoyed World Cup more. But it was up there. Trios was pretty good for me.
Yeah, I think the FNCS seasons were great. I mean, obviously there was no production around them. I don't know.
Squads, yeah.
Vivid, I see you thinking over here. What are you thinking?
Listen, I'm gonna say that okay, so we've had like a 3-month break, like you guys talked about. I think a break is great. I think it really is. I think they need to give their players a break, and I feel like this one may have been a little bit too long. But the problem is that they didn't tell us that we were on break, right? And you still had players grinding, just like because we don't know when there's an announcement going to be. We know that probably when the announcement's coming, that in 2 weeks we're probably going to have to play an event. Like that's probably what's going to happen. So if you ever stop like quote unquote grinding and stuff like that, then you kind of feel like you're going to fall behind or something like that. So I really feel like a schedule of just like anything, even just like, okay, on February 27th, we're going to make an announcement. We're not to tell you what it is, but you basically have until February 27th until we make an announcement. Just tell us, give us something to base off of our schedules. And, that just tells us like, hey, you have like 2 months off, a month and a half off where you don't have to necessarily grind as hard. Go take a mental break. Because I really do think it's going to be an important thing, especially with a lot of the younger players not necessarily realizing how big mental health is and can be when you're playing video games for like 8 to 16 hours a day. They don't know what it is, and when you're like that old, you feel like immortal. Like that's like one of the biggest things. But I promise you, you're not gonna be able to remain that way for a very long time. So the faster that they implement a system that allows players to be healthier, just by knowing when they need to play and when they need to grind, is gonna help develop the scene a lot more.
It's not even like just mental too. It's like social and like
social, like
things, bro.
Dude,
even
like,
physical. I remember after playing, oh my god, Winter Royale from 10 a.m. to midnight EU, NAE, NA West. I felt physically sick. I don't know. After the first 3 days, maybe I'm just on a grinder or something. But I didn't feel great. I did not feel great at all.
Totally, yeah. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous, and it harkens back even to the World Cup format, right? 10 weeks straight of just this nonstop.
Exactly.
Yeah, you gotta have
weekends. You don't get any weekends,
or even weekdays if you want to qualify, right? Like,
sure, exactly.
Yeah,
but specifically the weekends, like you literally have no schedule at all on the weekends. You can't do anything. You can't, have dinner. Like you have to play these things, and no chance at all. I wish there was things where even FNCS was rough, right? I mean, we're moving on to this kind of schedule stuff right now, but
Sure.
Yeah.
we can come back to actual FNCS World Cup. Like, not being able to do anything on the weekend and not ever have one of these weekdays covered was just like I could never do anything on the weekends, or like I'd have to do I don't know. I just hate taking all the weekends every single time. I
Right.
wish there was like a Wednesday tournament.
Yeah,
type of
it's a
thing.
boomer take. When
Yeah.
World Cup started, and it was like, all right, honey, it's gonna be 10 weeks of nothing interesting happening, like in our home.
No, yeah. I remember, like, I can't remember specifically, but I remember, like, just being like, Dad, like, not gonna be available for the next 10 weeks. And that's just like, okay, like 10 weeks? That's 2.5 months, you know? Couldn't do anything. It was just scrims and or playing the game. Or actually, World Cup wasn't really like that for me
Yeah.
because, you know. But yeah, I mean, that's
what do you mean?
what it
by you know?
Wait,
Back up.
wait. So you're saying you qualify 1 week and then you're done? The grind's over for Vivid?
Well, I mean, if you want me to talk about that, I can right now. But I know we're on another topic. That's up to you guys.
I'm just teasing.
No, like I do want to go back to the like original question. Move on, Jay. I think we're probably gonna move on after this. So thanks for the take. I like it.
We'll see ya.
Okay, no problem. Oh, yeah, okay. It was nice to talk to you guys. It was nice to talk to you, Vivid. I hope you guys all have a great time. And my queue just popped, so wish
See
me
ya.
luck.
Perfect.
See you later.
All I want.
Go.
Oops, I dragged him out.
Great luck. Great
I'm
luck.
toxic. I'm
Back to
sorry.
his scrims.
I do want to go back to the original question, Vivid. Like, do you think that you'd rather see smaller FNCS over one big World Cup in a year? Say like 3-4 FNCSs in a year versus one big World Cup. What would you prefer?
I personally would prefer some sort of system where you need to consistently. Okay, so I think that there should be like there's 4 quarters in a year, right? You know how like businesses call it like quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4.
Yep.
I think that there should probably be like 3 FNCSs. And then I think the 4th quarter, in whatever way, shape, or form, should be either a national LAN. So like if they don't decide that they want to do a World Cup, they can do one for like NA East or NA West or combined.
Yeah.
And basically the way that it would work was you would qualify through consistency throughout all FNCS weeks. Like there would be consistency points, kind of like how an FNCS season itself works right now. Or not, but there would also be a chance to qualify each quarter to like go straight through. So let's say you get like first, second, or third, then you go straight into that end all be all. But then if you got like 5th, you get like 50 points, and then you know that carries over into like a leaderboard and stuff like
The next
that. And
split,
that's
if you will. Yeah.
Right. However, I do think it would be I think that they should have that, and then during that 4th quarter as well, have some sort of like middle ground tournament where people who didn't necessarily qualify or play those FNCSs can still play a tournament during that 4th quarter, because there would be a whole quarter of the year where nobody would be doing anything, kind of like what we have now. And like I mentioned before, I think a break is necessary, but I don't think one this long is necessarily necessary.
Yeah.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
I think, I mean, go back to like your scheduling point. There's no way Epic isn't organized enough to at least know internally, yeah, we're going to do something mid-March. We're going to do something at the end of July. And even just that would have been enough. Like, we're going to go on this big break. Something's happening at the end of February. Like, great. Now everybody knows, you know? It feels like just a weird internal decision to not, you know? Because it's definitely not that they don't have anything planned, or they're not aware of their own plans that far out. But I agree. I think that just communication, that's kind of been the crux of the competitive community's desires from Epic for a long time. Just communicate. Let's just talk about it, you know? But that's the rub. Balla, are we ready for our next caller?
Yeah, we are. And while I pull them in, I just want to remind people, like, if you see me talking to myself or whatever, it's just because I'm like talking to the next caller and I can screen their question. But I'm gonna steal it from you this time. Yo, what's your name? Where you calling from?
My name is Silence. I come from Toronto, Canada. So
2 Torontos in one night. Interesting.
Whoa.
Is it a
Conspiracy.
Hotline FN cult? What do you want to talk about?
I mean, I think the Dreamhack format should be applied to all events.
Okay. Why?
I mean, I feel like it gets rid of the stupid point threshold. Like, you guys remember that 3 kill threshold that they used to have?
Yeah, when Vivid
Yeah.
was the best player of all time. Yep.
That's me.
Yeah, I remember.
I mean,
What's wrong
do
with
you
it?
guys like the threshold or?
I don't. But
No, terrible.
Yeah, thresholds are bad.
I think we're all going to agree that DreamHack format should be used every single tournament.
Hands
But
down,
hands
best
up.
format.
Yeah, exactly.
You shouldn't be rewarded for dying off spawn. You shouldn't be rewarded for dying like outside of top 50. I think top 50 has it's just half, and it's just like a really good number. Like top 50 is just that's awesome. You get 1 point for each placement. I don't actually know. Did you get more points for winning the game, or did you just get 1 point for getting that one extra placement?
No, you got it was like double what you got from third to second. So like
Okay.
fourth to third got more than fifth to fourth, which was 1 point, and
Okay.
then third to second got more, and then second to first got more even.
Then yeah,
So
like that's
Front load it, yeah.
That's perfect. And I think 5 points for a kill, that even like, dude, I think like halfway through Friday, people were like, yo, we got a W key because like
yeah,
5 points per kill is not so it leaves literally both play styles like open. Like you can play either one. And it was just
Yeah.
like really nice.
Yeah, we saw multiple people. I had tweeted about some quick stats as we went into the finals. We saw multiple people qualify for the DreamHack finals off of all placement, 5 kills across their 10 games. You know, Fuzzy,
Yeah.
somebody else too. Just like, and they were not, outliers or people with more than 15 kills. Like that was the trend was to have under 15 kills and mostly placement points across your matches for day 1 and day 2 for qualifiers, which was pretty incredible to see. Honestly, I was like, wow, okay, this is great. Like, you can just look at those stat lines and know, like, oh, that was some competitive Fortnite. That was exciting.
Yep.
Yeah. And I don't feel like you get like rewarded too much with 5 points being a kill. Like, for example, some of the problems with like formats in the past have been you've gotten such a large majority of your points from kills, and if somebody just lands on you and then they're not paying attention and you like open a chest and you just get a better gun and you
Yep.
kill them instantly, you're rewarded not only like the siphon and stuff like that, but you're rewarded like so many like points.
Yeah.
Or it
I mean,
used to be
6
like
points
that in,
really,
like,
right?
past formats.
Because you get the placement point
I
as
mean,
well.
it would be nuts in some other formats, but 5, I don't know, it's just so nice. It was so balanced. I just really liked it. It was really good format.
If the
I
format,
think probably the biggest question I think I have out of DreamHack is you said that it rewards both play styles, playing passive and playing aggressive, but to me it like meshes them together so well. Like kills are actually very important. Like it doesn't seem like it because there's so many placement points available, but like the differentiating factor between first place and second place was kills, was eliminations, because they're worth a good chunk compared to what placement is worth. And they're like, I don't know, I guess they're just like discreetly worth a lot more than any specific other discrete chunk of placements. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So, but you can't just W key in my mind. I think you still can kind of just play passive, but to me, I think that's okay. But like Unknown Army didn't qualify. He was W king like crazy, and he was doing pretty well W king, like getting 5 or 6 kills a game. He did die off spawn a bunch in his semifinals run, which is why, or no, sorry, his second run, which is why he didn't qualify at all. So there's like an argument to be made about like, oh, you can't play aggressive. But in my opinion, that's okay as a BR, as long as playing aggressive is still rewarded. And I think the best thing about it to me is that playing aggressive is no longer a risk. You know, it's not like you die if you go on this guy's wall and it's the end of your tournament run. You know,
Yeah.
it's like it's okay. I took a risk. It was calculated. I still got points from it, but my game is over now. I have to continue. You know what I'm saying? So I like it because of that aspect too. It kind of makes aggression not as much as a risk. And we need that. We need that to lower the player counts.
Yeah, I
you
mean,
think-
like you said. Oh, go ahead.
Please go for it, Vivid.
You said that it was placement heavy. Like it's still placement heavy for sure, but like you said, at the end of the day, even though it's still placement heavy, the difference between first and second was those kill points. You
Yep.
as a player, and I don't think people really know or maybe like Unknown doesn't know. I mean, Unknown's a really smart person, so I'm sure that he does know, or maybe he just doesn't know. But you need to know when to stop, like W keying. Like that's the thing. Because a lot of kills in Fortnite right now basically just nets you mats and stuff like that. And once you get like set up for late game, like you should just stop immediately.
Yep.
And if you keep going, I mean, regardless of how many points a kill is worth, like there's got to be a stopping point, right? And if people learn that, then I think that the aggressive play style is still technically viable because somebody like me, I'll never go for a mid game kill, literally ever. But an aggressive play style in my eyes is somebody that goes for literally one kill mid game. That's still aggressive in my eyes.
Yes.
If you go for that kill and you get that kill and you just sit on those mats, there's extra mats or whatever, and you just use it to transition into a really good late game, then you, in my eyes, were an aggressive player.
Sure.
Even if you went for that one kill.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. Something interesting to me is if this format is used more and catches on more, given how granular the scoring is for placements, right? One person dying benefits you like no matter what, right? Anytime someone dies, you personally benefit no matter the situation. Do you think that over time, as people start to figure out the format and figure out ways to play the format, you'll see things like team spraying jumping to an all new high, right? Things like baiting lobbies into just annihilating, players caught out in slightly wrong positions in late circles. Like, I don't know. It's a strange take, but I can just imagine that those risks increasing even more because there's value even if you don't get the kill.
Yeah, I mean that's a really good point. But I don't think it necessarily like increases the amount that it will happen. I mean, that's just been in the game forever. If anybody ever sees somebody getting sprayed at, there's like, oh, I'm gonna chime in just to say if I get a random bullet in and maybe I'll get the kill or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
if you usually position bad, maybe even if you're positioned good, you just get unlucky. Somebody starts focusing you. You can just get focused by a lobby. Like that's just the nature of Fortnite.
That's just the way it
And
is.
there is some sort of skill to being able to position yourself in a way that you can't get grief like that. And there's also some skill to being able to escape situations like that. But sometimes you just get absolutely like annihilated in situations like that. So yeah.
Yeah, I totally hear that. Silence, I wanted to thank you for coming on and bringing this take to us, boss.
Thank you.
Have a fantastic evening. All right, I want to remind everybody that this is as you just saw, a call-in show. Hotline FN in my chat. We'll get you the link to bring your takes. We want to talk about what is mattering to you right now here in season 2. Speaking of season 2, Vivid, what's your first impressions? How are you liking AI being ham-fisted into the battle royale once again?
Again, by the way.
Yeah.
Again.
Fourth time.
It's really hard to get my take on it right now just because people get storm surge from killing those AI.
Yeah.
And until they get fixed, I don't think I'll be able to give an accurate representation of how scrims are going.
But
I think that if they kept the POIs exactly as they are now, but removed those what are they called?
Henchmen?
Those mythic weapons. No, the henchmen are fine. I think the henchmen are fine. If they removed just the mythic weapons from each spot and kept like, I know there's like some juiced up chests there that you can like fight over and stuff like that. Even if they kept those there, I think it's a really good addition to the game. You basically fight for better loot. I think having spots have better loot isn't necessarily a bad thing. If you want to go there and get better loot, go there and get better loot. Another balance thing that not a lot of people look at when it comes to Fortnite is a lot of those things, other than I think it's the agency that's in the middle of the map, all of those things are on the outside of the map, which in turn makes your rotation technically worse for mid-game rotations and stuff like that. So you're basically trading off, just like Slurpy Swamp, you're trading off better loot and whatever else you're looking to get from that spot for a worse rotation than somebody that says lands like Risky Reels or Frenzy Farms, also a really good rotational spot. So yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but I think that I don't like when there is one item in the game in terms of like, okay, so there's one infinite grappler in the game. I hate that. I do not like that at all. And a lot of people always be like, well, if you don't like somebody else having it, then just go get it. And I mean, that's just not really practical at all, to be honest with you.
Let's all land on the sword.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, somebody is going to have that weapon in the game. Like, and that's the problem. Whether I have it whether he, she, it has it, whoever has it, somebody has it, and it's broken. Like whoever doesn't have it is just at an immediate disadvantage, and there's nothing like you can't just go find another infinite grappler and like match them.
Yeah.
So I think it's a little BS when there's only like one item competitively, and that's what was wrong with the sword as well and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
I don't think that's all that's
I
what's
feel
wrong with
like-
the sword.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a lot more wrong with the sword, but like there's only one of them, and I just hate that.
I think like that concept doesn't necessarily like I don't like it either. I to be honest, I hate it as well. In a BR where everybody's loot has been even for so long as we can remember. It's just like I don't necessarily think that concept can't work in the game. What I don't like about it is that it's powerful, man. The drum gun, for example, somebody who has the drum gun, it's ridiculous how OP that thing is. I just wish I don't know. I think there's ways to make it work. I don't think that this is it. I think some of the items are okay. I think maybe like the Mythic Scar is probably fine. The Grappler is probably definitely way too much.
Yeah.
But I'd prefer if we got rid of them altogether because this isn't a game about imbalanced loot, right? It's not a game about you having the best out of everything. It's a game about no matter what you have, you can still make this work. And it's completely unfair if somebody can do something because he is the only person in the game with this one weapon and you can't do that, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of the way I think too. Even aside from how many people can get the item, I think most of these items are just broken. Like they're just poorly balanced for competitive, right? Like we've seen how grapplers affect in games, right? Like we've seen what this isn't a mythic item, right? But we've seen what C4 and heavy snipers do to the game.
Oh yeah.
The
and
play
fuck
patterns that they reinforce, right? Like, and then it's just like, here we go, they're back. Like, and the only change made to some of them is that only one of you gets to be that powerful. Yeah, you know, like I'm not a fan of
Yeah,
any of that at all.
I actually kind of like the point that Balla brought up in the sense that there probably could work because it's Fortnite, it's a silly game, like whatever.
Sure.
It probably could work if they added some unique items like at those spots. If they just weren't absolutely like just broken, like if I
and I
don't know what you could add that would be like balanced or give you like a unique thing to do, but if it just wasn't absolutely like broken, you know, then I think it would be. I don't think it would be that bad.
I think it would be neat too if it wasn't like just better versions of what we have.
Yeah,
Besides like the grappler, obviously the grappler is kind of like an ability that we don't have unless you have the
Otherwise,
grappler.
yeah.
But I think it'd be cool to be like I don't know, non-broken version of like you now have a storm sniper, you know that sort of
Yeah.
thing, like a cooler version of that where it's like okay, you get this one thing, you get an ability that helps you in a unique way, but it doesn't make you God.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Also, people around you can tell better, right? If someone pulls out a scar, you're like, I don't know if
Right.
that's a mythic scar. I don't know what's up. Someone pulls out something like a Storm Scout sniper, that creates all kinds of interesting gameplay. You see them in their box, pull it out, staring into it. Now you have another avenue of play, and it's very apparent if you see them holding it, you know, what that is, right? Like it's not a question of just rarities. It's this is an item. You know, like I know how he got that, I know where he got it, and I know it's special, and I can follow him, I can kill him because it's going to give me an advantage. It's not just a stronger weapon. I love that. I think that's great.
Yeah.
Storm Scout Sniper specifically, I think that would be great.
Yeah, that's a good idea to be honest. I know that the Storm Scout Sniper was like really broken in some ways, but when other people had it, man, like there was like
could tell.
play. Yeah, you could tell. Like
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
wasn't that bad to be honest with you. Like because like you said, you could either see somebody physically holding it, or when they shot with it,
Yep.
they
Gave it away.
it was a unique sound. Yeah, like you could tell. Or also, we used to sometimes in scrims, we would see somebody like jump pad to some random ass spot, and you'd be like, "Why would you do that?" Okay,
Why
I
are
think
you
I'm gonna
moving
go
that
over
thing?
there. Like that's something that we've legitimately done in scrims
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's
So
great.
there was some. You could definitely feed off of the Storm Scout even if you didn't have one.
Yeah, I think that items that give you
All right.
information like that create interesting lines of play, and that's the route they should have taken with these mythic items.
Hmm.
Rather than here's a sword. Anyways, we're done. Ready for the next question
Bring it on.
Yeah.
or next thing? There you go.
Hey, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, my name's Ollie and I'm calling from the UK.
Welcome to the hotline. What did you want to talk about?
So before I say anything, I just want to say this is like arena and comp only. Don't care about pubs. Like, do what you want with pubs.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
So, I just want to say, like, a stale season was the best thing that ever happened for competitive play, and the introduction of season 2 has like lowered the skill gap between casual and high tier players, with like the flashy new content, and that's definitely a bad thing.
Okay, why is it a bad thing?
Mm-hmm.
I just think like,
And why
if
does it
you-
lower the skill gap?
Okay, let's take like C4 for example. Have you seen the clip of Bumper where he just drops 6 C4 on Booger and like just instantly kills him? Like, if I can
No,
walk up to anybody's box, spray at the wall so that they can't hear me dropping the C4, and like blow their box up and hit them for instant damage, like, how is that fair?
I mean,
It's
it's
not
odd.
fair.
Yeah, there's
Why
no
are we doing this again?
there's no how, right?
Okay. No, as well. Like, obviously, like, you've got to think about all the new like content that's came
Yeah.
in. But I just want to talk about like people that complained about a stale season.
Yeah.
Like,
Did this.
so yeah, so so like, you think back to like any good game that's like competitive, like let's say CS:GO for example, like biggest competitive game ever. Like, how many times have you like been camping the exact same spot in a map? Like, how many hours have you spent looking at almost the same pixel? And you're going to say that like Fortnite, a game where no fight is ever the same, is going to get stale? Like,
I think that. I mean, like, I generally agree with your opinion here, but I'm not sure that's like the route to take, because we have plenty of examples of games that aren't stale, that are crazy high caliber competitive games. For example, things like Dota and League of Legends, of course.
yeah, but I'm just saying, like, say like, you don't need to introduce complete new content for something to like not be stale, if you get
Yeah.
what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't a stale state of the game. It was nice to like just bring back season 1, please. I'm begging people.
I think that.
I mean,
go for it,
I
Balla.
was going to ask straight up, Vivid, like, did you think the game was stale? Because you clearly took a break or something like that before DreamHack. So I want to know. You're a very competitive person.
The main reason why I took a break before DreamHack was because I knew that I burned out during World Cup, so I didn't want to burn out ever again. So I took precautions, and
But it had nothing to
before
do with season 1.
I mean, I think that if there was like some like fun comp arena to do or something like that, I probably would have like jumped on and just had like fun with that. But like, there's like nothing to do in terms of, you know, having fun on Fortnite
I think
when it's outside of a competitive season, in my opinion.
And there's still nothing to do, right?
Right.
There's still
Yeah,
nothing to do. There's no hype nights.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
comp
Yep.
tournament.
Yep.
Like,
The state of the
like,
content's
it's
not what
still
was more.
boring.
Yeah.
was it stale because there was no content being added in, or was it stale because there was nothing for people to compete in?
I think it's both. I think it's both. But
Sure.
again, I agree with you. I agree with your take that it's not bad to be stale, right? I completely agree with that. But it's definitely like both, right? Like, I like Fortnite. I do like Fortnite for adding
We
new
love
stuff
Fortnite.
and being pretty innovative. Yeah, and it's definitely in that vein of we love Fortnite. But at the same time, like, from a competitive standpoint, and from that's where I focus my time. I'm fine with them not changing anything or changing something in a different game and then adding it in once we're like, okay, cool, I
Yeah.
like that. Like, that's
after a
so
stage of
much
testing.
better. Exactly. Like, they
Yeah.
added with a harpoon that clearly didn't have any testing, but it was totally okay. Like, don't add the C4 without being like, hey, is this okay with you guys? Or you know?
Yeah.
I think that's basically what we're asking for. And we're not asking, guys. Like, there's so many people, even with the Ninja tweet or the Ninja versus Bizzle tweet, like, there's so many people who are like, oh, this game is boring and it's because of comp, because they just want the game to be stale. And I'm like, no, man, like, I don't want that at all. I don't
Like,
get why it's casuals versus
I just want it to be
competitive. It just
balanced
needs
and
to be
designed well.
split.
For-
Exactly.
yeah,
That's
for
all I
like,
want.
hey, like casual
Like
matches,
the issue
have
isn't
planes,
inherently.
have the sword, have everything.
Yeah, the issue isn't inherently that there are C4 and heavy snipers that they added to the game. It's not that they are adding things to the game at all. That's not a problem. It's just that the things that they're adding to the game are like they're bad.
Broken.
Like they're not like good things to exist in a competitive setting. And that's where all the frustration comes from.
Mystic weapons, get them out. Minigun, get it out. Heavy sniper, get it out.
Yep.
Do I need to
Yep.
go on C4? Get it
Nope,
out.
you don't need to go on. Thank you, though. Thank you so much for bringing this take to us, Ollie. Really appreciate it.
One last thing I've got to say.
Uh-oh.
Balla, Bumper does be clipping you though. I've seen
Oh.
his new vid.
He's out of here, but I did see it too. Right at the end of the highlight, you kill Bump or Balla. Good stuff. It's
got
clean.
clipped on.
We love seeing Balla get popped. All right, have a great night.
Cheers for letting me on. You too.
Peace. Fantastic. Remind everybody once again, !Hotline FN gets you into the Discord to bring your take onto the show. Let's talk about it. Vivid, did you see that Hype Night was delayed from this weekend for a duos test event?
I did see that. I'm assuming and or guessing that it's something to do with them wanting to test performance in duos. So maybe that is a telltale
That's the
as
second
to
one,
what
too.
the game mode is going to be. I don't know.
Yeah.
Second test. They had one during DreamHack.
I'm curious. One thing that was interesting is last week for like just a couple of days, right? Trios, like regular trios, was in the game, right? For just like it was just a couple of days, or was it a full week? I'm curious if they tinfoil hat. What if they haven't decided what format they're gonna be doing, and they're kind of just like, here's trios, let's see if it's still popular. Okay, like next, all right, here's another duos test event. Like, let's see what people think.
I'm curious, is trios ever popular in a pub format when squads and duos is still in the game?
Yeah, I don't know.
I doubt
Don't
it.
probably don't have those numbers, but I mean, I don't see why
I don't know.
not.
Have you guys ever played the normal trios mode? I've never freaking played it.
I never
But that's
played
also 'cause
normals
it's
mode at all. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
like that normals mode is terrible. Like, just give them Siphon already. Like, holy hell. Like, what is
Siphon and skill-based matchmaking ruin Fortnite, sir. Thank you very much. Fortnite will die if they bring Siphon back to pubs.
Skill-based matchmaking isn't that bad. I will say though,
It's
I
not.
played pubs like a couple of days ago, and man, like literally every fight is a box fight. Probably because of skill-based matchmaking, and it's fucking it's insane.
I don't think it's because of skill-based matchmaking. I think it's just finally the entire player base is caught up with the fact that it's now, it makes sense to box fight. You're in a battle royale where there's people around you. If you're not box fighting, you're getting shot by a third party.
That's probably also
eventually that's gonna happen.
Snipers everywhere, all day long. Yep, 100%, 100%. All right, we got our next caller in. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm the HLFN. I'm calling from the UK.
Awesome. What was your name again? Can you get that again?
The Yellow Flash.
The Yellow Flash. Hell yeah. What do you want to talk about tonight?
So basically, Epic Games has less communication now because of the immaturity and harassment they get from younger players on Twitter.
Ooh.
Logically, why would Epic Games even bother opening up dialogue to a bunch of 14-year-olds who spam their tweets? However, recently, even when Epic started collaborating with Prac, they still received hate.
That's a good question. I mean, this is a good
opinion.
This is a good topic with Vivid, because Vivid, you had that tweet, right? And we talked a little bit about Anaheim, right? Where basically was Epic tweeting about the fact that they're doing this collaboration with Prac in the Search and Destroy tournament, where they received a bunch of hate. But basically the question is Epic not communicating because we as a community are assholes?
Probably not. I think they're just choosing not to communicate. I will say though, I think that the root of like that toxicity and stuff like that is because they aren't communicating. Because like if people would know how that tournament came together, they'd be a little bit more open to it. Or if like the problem isn't having a separate mode like S&D. Like that's not the problem. The problem is people were pissed because it's like, oh, thanks for this S&D mode. Where the hell is my competitive shit at that I've been waiting hella months for, or something like that, right? Like if there was an announcement made before that S&D announcement was made, I guarantee you people would have been like, oh my god, like that's so cool, and a separate tournament so that way people can enjoy S&D. They want to play S&D, haha, cool, have fun, But no, it's just like,
sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, even if you go on the Twitter tweets now from Fortnite, just like the skin or like the skin shops, or like when a new skin comes out, it's just the same tweet over and over again. When's the comp announcement? When's the comp announcement? When's the comp announcement?
Yeah,
so,
we're neglected, man. We're neglected. Sorely neglected. We haven't heard a single word except since like the Winter Royale blog. You know, that's the last thing we've heard about competitive, I think, besides, you know, tweeting about Dreamhack and stuff, which is a
I
third
don't
party
blame the
tournament.
community because Epic Games did make it 13 plus. If it was like 16 plus, I'm sure.
No, but like I don't know, man. I don't think that any community is ever going to be satisfied. Like ever, like you're always going to see complaining. Complaining is the easiest thing to echo. Complaining is the best thing for, not the best thing. I'm saying it's the easiest thing for, you know, Twitter to be like, yeah, I
When people
agree.
complain, they don't really give good opinions. It's just the same spam and like tweets and baits all over again. Like,
Well, did you like the remove the mech hashtag?
Good, yeah. But all I'm saying is, if you look at like, if you go on like today, if you go on Infamous and goes to Aiden's, what do you call it, Twitter thing, that was good because they're actually giving points and stuff. But everything else is just like nerf aim assist, like no actual like
Yeah.
valid points. If you know what I mean. That's what I'm just
Tim,
trying to
thoughts?
say.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still just kind of thinking about the beginning when you mentioned like the immature 14-year-olds, and is that why Epic is ignoring the community? Because those same immature 14-year-olds exist in r/Fortnite BR. They just be immature about different things than the competitive community, right? And
But their brains haven't fully developed yet. That's probably why as well.
maybe I think that if that is the reason, that would be very immature of a massive, essentially Fortune 500 company being like, we're not going to talk to you kids because you complain too much. Like, that would be just as immature in my book. I don't think that's it. I don't think that's it. I think it's a decision. I think it's, you know, not a great decision, but it's same with patch notes, right?
Thank you for your time.
Yeah. Thanks so much, JLO Flash. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for your time. Yeah, it's really late here, so I'm gonna probably just like
just sneak out the back door. I hear
Thank you. Thank you for letting me talk. Bye. Have a good night.
Have a good one. Thank you.
Bye.
Perfect. Yeah, I don't think it's an intentional decision. Same with the patch notes. I would love for them to tell us why. Just like a little bit of communication goes such a long way. And I get that, you know, they think that they've done that, you know, with their like blog posts, which would then get immediately torn up. But like, I don't think it's hard to objectively sit back and read over those sorts of posts like Fortnite and the Brute and the ones prior. And
yeah, I mean,
he mentioned like that that's not good.
Yeah, he mentioned that he would always see like the same stuff on social media. Well, that also like routes back to the whole like no communication thing, because if people sit there and spam like, oh, I want treasures back on like every single post, and they never communicate as to like why we aren't getting treasures, why we aren't getting FOV,
yep.
And people are just gonna keep asking for it, and as time goes on, people are gonna get tired of asking for it nicely, and it's gonna be like, okay, like what the fuck are you doing? Like, you haven't told me why I'm not getting treasures, you haven't told me why I'm not getting FOV, like why am I not getting it? Like, tell me, you know. So
I don't know. I'm trying to get 72 hours to call in, but he says there's only two options for Arena in the chat. He says either they don't want us to continue to grind or practice Arena because you'll be stomping bad players and getting too much practice, or oh wait, he's in, he says stop talking, he says he's in.
Dragon XXX Gaming.
Dragon XX. Hello, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello. Hey guys, just want to say long time fan, long time watcher, first time caller. Hello.
Wow, thanks so much, Dragon XXX Gaming 5434.
No problem. Sorry, I was eating dinner. You caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting to get in that quickly.
Yeah.
My question is, why do you think it is no one grinds Arena, or why it's not grindable? Why are the queue times so long when other battle royales such as Apex have a system where there's something to grind for, like an Apex Predator number, right? So top 500 gets a number.
Yep.
So they have a reason to grind, and they get placed with people lower, like diamonds. Whereas Fortnite, if you're in Champs Division, you wait 15 minutes for games that are still really bad.
Yeah,
why do you think that is?
What?
Good fucking question. Like, why? I don't know.
For how many months do you want it to be that way before they change it? Thoughts?
Thoughts? Yeah, we talked about this a bunch. It's ridiculous. Like even just something as light as you said, as a leaderboard would drive so much stronger participation in higher quality games at every level of Arena, just for that small change, right? I don't know, Balla. Obviously, you think a lot about Arena. Talked a lot about it.
Yeah, it would save. I mean, a good rank system would be so fantastic for the game, for streamers, for everything. Like, I don't understand why it's not been that way. And for the longest time, I was like, I was just, giving them the benefit of the doubt. It's just hard to make a rank system in a battle royale. But then Apex comes out with their, season 4, whatever, season 3, and they're like, yeah, we got a rank system. You can get leagues. You
It's
can
pretty cool,
rank up,
too.
D-rank, all this sort of thing. It's good. And now I'm just like, okay, well, I guess we just suck, man. I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah, but Balla, if you get, let's say, what's the Fortnite version of Apex Legend? If you get Fortnite Legend in Fortnite and little Timmy can't get Fortnite Legend, how do you think that will make him feel?
You make the first rank superhero, the next rank really good player, the next one even better player, the next one super great job.
Like the astronaut condoms
All
where it starts at
positive.
large and then goes up from
Yeah,
there.
it's all positive.
Yeah, but then
And
you can
in the loading
D-rank.
screen, it pops up. It's like, these are the streamers in your game. Liquid Vivid. This is where he usually lands. And like, like you put like a manhunt on the streamers who have the most viewers. Like, it'll be good.
Yeah.
Everyone will love it.
Everybody
would
will
be
love
fun,
it
though.
except for Vivid. That could be a fun like standalone mode. Damn, there's a lot of cool stuff they could do, but not that. Yeah, I agree. Balla.
They
Go
just
for it,
need to
Vivid.
add like a skin or something that you can grind for a
Mhm.
progressive skin. That maybe like at the end of the season, it's nice and shiny and gold because you got like top 500, or if you got like
There's
top
signals.
1,000, then it's
You don't
There's
even
silver.
do-
signals.
Apex doesn't even have skins. Just when you're streaming in the top right corner, there's a number. And that's enough to keep people playing ranked every day.
True.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
all you need is a
Question:
number.
Dragon XX Gaming, for someone
yeah.
who's clearly played a lot of Apex ranked, do the games actually become like Apex competitive? I don't know if you're a fan of that, genre or watching that
Okay.
at all, but
Good question.
what
So, that's the issue with their ranking system is that it becomes basically like our arena system, but their queue times are so short comparatively. Like, what losers, right? So they have to wait short times for the same quality games that we get after waiting for 20 minutes, which is like way better. I think our system, it rocks.
oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
No, I mean I watched I tuned into an Apex stream. I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was like House or something like that. And they were like going hard on like comms and stuff like that in one of the like
Yeah.
Apex Legend games.
Yeah,
Like,
they don't mess
were, like-
around.
yeah, they were trying. Whereas
Yeah.
in like if you were going to an arena right now, like you just be like, ha, let's see if I can pick as this guy. like it just doesn't
SpongeBob
fucking
laugh.
matter. Yeah.
And you have to think about it. It could also be causation from the fact that arenas are a joke and there's nothing to grind for, that no one's trying. So you rarely run into pro players. You just run into Timmy, who's trying to grind for champs.
And like a big reason why this is
There's been
important.
signals.
The health of a competitive scene relies so much on the health of the lowest level of that competitive scene, right? Like you need fresh blood, you need strong competition, you need people getting better at the game constantly across the board to keep that competitive scene alive, not just at the highest points. And like the very basis of that is a solid ranked mode, right? Like that's like the core, like that's like a piece you have to have no matter what else you're doing with your competitive game. That has to be there and it has to be good for the longevity and health of the scene. I don't know how it's
There's been signals too,
missed on.
like with the the Smash Cup about skins, forcing better play because people actually want to play for the skins, and like that's actually performed pretty well in terms of making a game high quality competitive match. And there's been other things too, like we had Gauntlet. Gauntlet had a leaderboard.
That was
Gauntlet
great.
games
Yeah.
Last few times,
Gauntlet was good.
really hard. They were so good. I grinded for like multiple hours a day just because it was fun always. And then what else do we have? It's Share the Love. Share the Love, also really good. Pop-up cups every single night that you could just grind or not if you don't want to. And you would rank into specific spots and then get access to different tournaments, and people would try hard because of that. Like, I don't understand why we went backwards from Gauntlet and Share the Love. And now we have a system that is not even arguably, it just 100% is broken. It makes no sense to me. Yet they continue to claim that they're making some innovative new system to play competitive mode. Like they've said that in the AMA, and they said that in a couple blog posts. It's like, no, actually, this has been done since the dawn of time. So why is it bad? I think Dragon XX Gaming, you make a perfect point. And to be honest,
Hey
I'll leave it
guys,
at that.
thanks for taking my call. I
Thanks so
appreciate
much.
your
Thanks so much for
time.
calling in. Appreciate it.
No problem,
Appreciate it,
no problem.
Dragon XXX Gaming. Yeah,
I'm so bored.
What's he gonna do now? Scrim? Ugh, good luck. How's performance
Go
been
back
at
to
scrims
dinner.
this week? A lot of people have been complaining about it.
Terrible.
Apparently, really like. I was watching Chep and he couldn't pop a freaking mini for like a
God.
minute.
Yikes.
Yeah.
That's abusive.
Pretty sure they're working on that. Who knows though?
Pretty sure.
How
Pretty sure.
would any of us know what they are working on? Am I right?
You mean all the pros aren't employed by Epic directly?
That is actually against the law. Did you know that?
I did actually.
Can't compete and be. So yeah, no, we're not. No, we don't know anything.
Why is Vivid so familiar with this law, huh? Takes?
All right, ready
Keep
for
my
your
options open.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what
Bring him in. Bring him in. I'm tired of saying dumb stuff. Hey, caller. What's your name and where are you calling from? Hello.
Uh-oh. Can't hear us. He's gone.
He ain't
Man,
ready.
I was
He
looking
ain't
for a
ready.
mistake.
He ain't ready
Feels
yet.
bad. We'll try again next time. Let's
He's
see.
nervous. Let him.
Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Alden Lathrop calling from Georgia.
Georgia, let's go. What do you want to talk about tonight?
I appreciate you guys
Prodigy
having me on.
Analytics.
Yeah, a little bit.
Thanks for calling, man.
Yeah,
Yeah. So my take, if you will, is that it seems to me that players and teams aren't doing enough to take advantage of analytics in order to inform and improve performance in events. And I believe that there could be more proactive measures being taken in order to use all the tools available to them, a la how more traditional professional sports have embraced analytics as they move into the modern age. So hoping to kind of get your guys' take on that and discuss that a little bit.
What do you think I should use to better my game in terms of analytics?
Wow, just asked him to straight give up the goat there.
I mean, like, whether you want it to be as general as possible or whatever, but like, I'm just curious, right? Like, usually stats are like after a Fortnite event or something like that. But if you think there's something prior,
certainly. So, without trying to do too much promotion here on our behalf, because that's not the purpose of this.
You're good.
I know certainly that we've done some amount of work with how to sequence games in terms of the qualifying events that occur, where elimination should play, how to more effectively manage games. There's a wealth of data that we've generated and worked on that is able to highlight areas of inefficiency in top players, as well as what things and measures some players are taking in order to be more effective.
it's actually really interesting that you say that. And I'm not like, okay, so during World Cup, it was actually really funny. Me and Tom, mainly Tom was very obsessed with the idea that there is a way to time your games. You can ask about that. He would literally talk to me for like an hour, and we would go over and we would discuss how and when we should queue for a specific game. Like, not even kidding, because we had 10 games, we had 3 hours, so there's a way that you should spend your time. And Tom was very obsessed with that idea. So maybe, I mean, for that specific scenario, maybe there's other scenarios that you have, but that specific scenario that you're talking about, I actually have had experience like going over stuff and stats like that.
Interesting. Yeah, that's certainly one area that we've looked at. Namely just by game difficulty per hour and the number of players left at the same junction per hour. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep,
Yeah.
Sorry. So yeah, what you're speaking to is exactly something we've looked at, and there is data that can corroborate that and validate that as well.
I think I don't know. I guess what I'm gonna say is, how do you know that players aren't using analytics and stuff like that to really further their game? And secondly, like, I don't know. I feel like yes, people should and people do, and there's nothing that says that they don't. And then also, like, how does it matter? You know, gut versus just playing it, right? To me, the best players, they don't do what, for example, even I do, which is watch and do things based on what they see other players do. They just do it because it feels good and it's intuitive to them, right? Why would that be worse than any sort of analytics?
Yeah, I think
so. Sorry, go ahead.
Go for it.
So there's two things I was going to kind of speak to there. One, as far as how do I know that players aren't, you're 100% correct. I don't know every player's practice regimen and what sort of things they're implementing. There are some sort of anecdotal things that we're able to use to kind of see that players might not totally understand or be incorporating analytics into their play. So one of the things certainly is how they sequence games and approach them, as we discussed. Another is sort of we hear a lot of players complain or make a statement, oh, got half in, half out, GG, they win, right? When that's one of the things that we've looked at and actually shown that the value of half in, half out and getting that is way overblown in terms of its importance, right? Now, just knowing that on its own isn't necessarily going to make you get first place in a tournament, right? But there are certain things that we're able to kind of see that would suggest that players
Yeah,
aren't
I don't
using all the
think
information available to
I
them.
don't think anyone can deny that skilled analysis is useless in Fortnite, or even that it can't have massive impacts. I think from my perspective, it's sort of there are sort of two issues, right? One being it's hard to find a ton of value in repeated analysis, right? Like bringing someone on to work with you constantly when there isn't constant events, and when the events we do have are so wildly different from each other, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, if we had 6 dream hacks in a row, this type of assistance would be incredibly useful, right? To have, right? And for any player. But when it's Dreamhack and then maybe 4 weeks later more cash cups and then maybe 4 weeks later is a FNCS, right? I can see that hesitance. I'd be more interested to know if players were engaging with that type of of analysis during weekly events like World Cup and FNCS.
The
Also,
other
there's
thing though, go ahead, Vivid.
There's something that you have to be really careful with right now, because I'm not sure you're talking about analytics, and I'm not sure when you took them, when you calculated them, or whatever like that. But for example, if you looked at DreamHack, I can almost guarantee you that the average placement of a person that got half and half is better than someone who did not. However, if you look at it in the FNCS squads version of it, I can almost guarantee you that it probably doesn't matter as much, just because you have a lot more mats in a squad as
Sure.
opposed to as a solo. And I can also almost guarantee you that in trios it was the same thing, because getting half and half wasn't as important back then either, because you had jump pads and there was a lot of more mobility, such as shockwaves and stuff like that. And they were like team stuff. So you would just go to half and half with whatever mobility you had. But in an event like DreamHack where there's no mobility, I can almost guarantee you that half and half mattered in terms of placement.
Yeah, which is why
Correct.
consistency of events matters so much, right?
Yeah.
That analysis becomes much more valuable the larger the sample size, and the more you know that you can rely on that to extrapolate well into the next event, right? Whatever it is.
I think also, like, to get more into why your question of why people don't use it is that, like, the only things we can really do with analytics right now is like analyze very basic and or either very I don't know, broad or generic questions, right? You can ask, oh, is half and half N good, or where should I position myself here, or whatever, where you usually can get an answer just by looking or just by feeling or just by playing a couple games, you know. Whereas in my mind, if we had like in-depth analytics about, like, I don't know, like other games have, like, oh, the times you make this edit in a 1v1 situation, when the entire box, I don't know, when the death happens in the next 30 seconds, you lose 50% of the time. Like those things, if you can get that much more in depth, I think all of a sudden the value goes way up. But for right now, like the tools aren't there to do much of
I don't-
anything that is useful.
I don't know. I think there's a lot of value in macro analysis, right? Of like the
Yeah,
large
there's-
game, especially when it comes to individual players, right? If an individual players runs through a multiple week long event, can dole out that kind of analysis of like, on average, when you hit this point on the map at this timing, this is what you need to look out for. Or if you beat this timing on your initial loop path, you're going to have a much better, rotation, like that kind of stuff. Super valuable. I think that this kind of harkens back to what you said, Balla, about gut feelings and players, and maybe players undervaluing analysis, even when it is super useful and even when it is available. And I know it's the constant on Hotline FN, but lately there's been a lot of talk about in League of Legends high tier pros like Faker using the objectively wrong choices in those games, leveling up in objectively worse orders, buying the wrong items just because it's their gut feeling. It's what they know, whether it's because they know the numbers behind those items well internally. But you can, analysts, it's easy for them to point and say like, this is bad, and they do it every time and they're not changing, even though we have the data. And so I think there's like some give and take of like, is it possible players are too proud to like really dig into analysis and use that to assist them? And then on the flip side, I don't know if there's enough perceived usefulness at this point given the competitive scene. in that kind of
Certainly.
analysis.
And if I may interject here just briefly, so one, going back to what Vivid was talking about with, from different events, that is very much the case. You're spot on with that. One of the things that we've noticed is that each type of game mode, be it solos, duos, trios, or squads, the data for each game mode is very unique unto that game mode itself, right? So this same things that apply for solos aren't going to apply to duos, trios, squads. So you're spot on with that. As far as what Balla was talking about in terms of more specific things, there is some data like that we've been able to analyze. So one of the things that we work on and look at is fight win rate based on time in game, right? So we believe that there are certain times where it's inopportune to try and take a fight based on both number of players left in game, proximity to placement threshold, as well as how often a team wins fights at that stage in the game, right? So there are times where it's, a team may have a 60% win rate in fights before the 13-minute mark, right? And if there's still 75 players left, it makes sense for them to go take that fight because they don't have a high enough odds of making it to that placement threshold.
Totally.
So
Yeah, I think
that fight are more worth it.
Yeah, I think even with the data we have, there are some interesting things to look at that could really help players. I think that the proof is in the pudding, right? Coaching wasn't catching on that hard until you had people like Destiny's Jesus during World Cup very blatantly being able to say and having pros corroborate like, hey, I'm doing better and I'm doing well in these events because of this coach's help, right? And I think that's something similar is going to happen with analyst positions within organizations, and then just analysts and their analyses being hired out. It's going to take kind of that wave, that first initial push of some people using it and claiming that it helped them a lot before it really takes off in any meaningful way. All right, thanks so much.
I appreciate it. Well,
thanks
thank
for
you guys.
representing
Yeah,
Prodigy Analytics. Have a great one.
Thanks, boss.
Bye-bye. Balla, we got time for one more in here?
Yes,
Hey,
sir.
can you
You
hear
got
me
one?
now?
I like it.
Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yo, it's Bangarang or Dusty Nunn, Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah.
What's up?
Welcome back. What did you want to
Oh,
talk about?
You went through that like it was a game. I don't know. Like it was just like, oh, what's up, man? It's me. I'm from Omaha. Like it was just like rehearsed. I like it.
Yep, and I'll be back next week too.
Hell yeah, that's what we like to hear. What do you want to talk about tonight?
Well, real quick, I just want to give a shout out to Balla. Great job at Dreamhack, man. That was awesome.
Thank you, man.
Also want to say what's up, Vivid, Liquid, the fuck up, brother.
Hell yeah.
But what I
Do the
wanted to
same.
talk about was the kind of the future of Fortnite broadcasts, specifically kind of the the difference between the more kid-friendly, casual broadcasts like we've seen with the official, Epic stuff, the summer, geez, can't remember,
Summer
World Cup,
skirmish,
all that, whatever. Yeah,
World
the
Cup.
summer skirmish, World Cup, all that, versus, the third-party events that have been a little bit more serious tone in the broadcast, with the Elite Cup and even with DreamHack last week. Which I know your guys' production was a little scuffed, but even the tone of it was a lot more serious. You don't really have to use that, that filter that Epic gives you. You have to say elimination, not kill. You're not going to bring up aim assist, things like that.
Oh, I don't think that has anything to do with it. Like the
No,
filter, like it has a
yeah.
different vibe. But in terms of seriousness, I just think we have way more control over what we're watching and what we care about. Not necessarily, oh, we can't say kill,
Yeah,
like those
that-
sorts
I
of
guess
things
that
aren't ever
wasn't-
going to change.
That's
right?
not a huge deal. Yeah, it's just more so like, that was a bad
No, you're good,
analogy
you're
to
good.
filter, but just kind of how there's less, in-depth competitive analysis, and like a lot of time is spent on like, explaining to casuals, like, you had the little Balla cutscene where it's like, this is tunneling, and it's like, I get that they're gonna want to put that stuff in, for people who don't know what's going on, because if you look at a competitive Fortnite match and you haven't played one before, it's it's not like the normal game. Basically, how they're just gonna try to find the balance between those two and which one is gonna help increase popularity and, more importantly, longevity, in the competitive scene.
I will say one thing before I let you dig into this, Balla, because I know it's near and dear to your heart. over the last like 3 months or whatever, I have not missed watching you and Monster D-Face do Fortnite dances on that stage. In that studio.
Did I really do many? I don't know, man.
That's to me, that's the crux of it, right? Like these other ones aren't necessarily more serious. They're just, you know, they're not all serious, right? Like Dreamhack Vibes was so like fighting game like scene vibes to me. I loved it so much. It was fantastic. The back and forth with Shio prior to even casting the finals, right? The interviews versus, you know, like the objectively like silly way a lot of the World Cup stuff was handled. So yeah, I don't know, Balla, do you have a I guess
I don't know.
a
I
take
think
on
we
which
need a
one's there?
balance. Yeah. I think we need a balance. I think anything that Epic does in terms of broadcast is way more criticized just off the break.
Yeah.
So like people are gonna see a lag spike and be like, "Oh my god, this is terrible," and then they see it happen on Shy and I stream, and they're like, "Haha, Fortnite," but they're still gonna watch. You know, it's like they don't hate it so much because it's not an Epic broadcast. But like you need to do things like the tunneling guide. You need to do things like introduce the concept of a competitive game to different people. If you don't do that, you're not going to hook new people. Like nobody's going to know what the hell is going on. And I don't think you need. I don't know. To me, I feel like the Epic broadcast has nothing to do with like how simple we're being, or you know, the viewing experience has nothing to do with how simple we're being, or how casual we are, or the fact that we do dances, and everything to do with the fact that we just aren't able to focus on what I think is important, because it's just not what we watch, but also not what Epic really cares about, and also just generally,
What are those
you know,
things
not
that are
before we
really
get
So
to
you
important?
it.
don't think it's the serious versus analytical? It's just more of an issue of like I've heard you talk about it a bunch before, but like finding the storyline,
Yes.
and kind of
Yep.
rolling with those because that was one of the best parts of DreamHack. You know, also to add on that Savage moment at the end was probably the best win moment. I've heard you talk about that as well, where Fortnite's kind of in a weird spot with the BR where, you know, the scoring over multiple games, it's not like C9 takes the Nexus and they win. You know, that person could win, you know, way before earlier in that match. And I think that kind of helped with DreamHack, that Savage moment where he wins the final game, and kind of, you know, wins in that moment helps. But it's not always like that, you know, like Uga had the World Cup locked, you know, with 30 people left in the last zone in game 6.
I think the
Here-
problem
here's
with the
go
Epic
ahead,
broadcast
yeah.
is the spectating system for sure. And
And I agree, but I've also heard Balla talk about how it like makes life so much easier. But as a viewer and as I watch with my whole Discord, and only 2 of us play Fortnite, and the guys who don't play, they watch with us sometimes, and they just really do prefer watching the, you know, the players, you know, live screen versus
Yo,
the
Balla, we
spectator
don't have to have
system that's
Bangerang
not
speak for you. We don't have to have
redefined.
Bangerang speak for you here. Like what, you know, what?
Well, I want Vivid to elaborate first because I don't want to, you know, lose his thoughts here.
I mean,
about-
I mean, first problem with the spectating system is obviously the lag that it experiences. The second problem, in my opinion, is that it's usually broadcasted with all the highest graphics, which is like terrible for the game because that's what like literally nobody plays on. And then I think it's like misused. I think there's a lot of like great angles and stuff that you can get from it. But I think taking like the current like angle that they have when they're like spectating a player is just so bad, and it just looks so much better when you're watching from somebody's POV. If they could like clean it up to where it's like more POV based and it looks like you're watching somebody on stream, then I think it'd be a really great tool because like dude, the fact that you can like zoom out, it has so many tools. And like you were mentioning that like you thought that like Balla's stream was more analytical than a Fortnite stream, but that's just like I don't think that's, no offense, but I think that Epic has kind of taken on that they want to do more analytical stuff because like I know that Sundown all the time is like rewatching clips and stuff like that, and he was trying to like analyze and stuff like that. And then they were also looking at I'm not sure if they looked at it on stream or not, but I know that it's accessible through the tool in some way, shape, or form. But like when somebody would land and then where they would like rotate to and stuff like that, like they
Like
show
automate, right?
stats and there's stuff that they can use in the replay mode. I just think that because the majority of the viewing experience is the POV. You want to watch somebody play. And I
Yeah.
think that portion of the replay system right now is just not as good as watching from somebody's POV. And if they could match that, then it would be insane. And then also get rid of the lag, obviously, because like the 2-second pauses that can ruin a moment.
Yeah, that's untenable.
It's ruined many moments. You know, I've stopped a cast and flipped out because a moment just got ruined because of something. There's so many times I want to analyze something and I can't use it. I can't actually put it as part of my analytics package that I come up and talk about after the game because there's a lag spike in it. And yeah, that sucks. Trust me, that sucks. And I agree with everybody that the replay mode is not good, but I don't necessarily think that is the be all end all of why Fortnite broadcasts are not good, right? And everybody points to it as the first thing, and I don't agree because to me, well, first off, there's literally no other way to do an open tournament and broadcast an open tournament than to have the replay mode. There's literally nothing else right now. The tools just don't exist besides watching streams. And if we watch streams, we would miss 99% of the interesting stuff going on in a tournament. So that to me is out of the window completely. Sure, they need to fix it, but before they fix it, it's still the only way to watch. Just straight up, it really is. But most of Vivid's points are correct. I agree. Our analytics or our analysis segments on the Fortnite broadcast, or the analytical tone that we had versus Dreamhack versus Epic, doesn't change. Right? I'm me no matter what. I'm not changing because I go on a Fortnite broadcast. What I'm changing is, I'm watching 6 endgames in a row that we've just seen, and I've already explained the topic of where I want to position the half in, half out, or where I want to position in fourth zone. I've explained that a million times. I've explained why, the importance of multitasking endgame or whatever, man. I've explained so many different in-depth concepts. I can't do it another time.
Sure.
So that whole thing, that whole system, that whole strategy of spectating only endgames, number one, there's so many things wrong with it because we're only seeing endgames. It's repetitive. We're also missing relevant stuff that people are super interested, like Vivid dying off spawn or Vivid having a crazy hot drop game. We completely missed all of that. Any hot drop games? You remember the legendary Zayt Saf pop off to qualify for World Cup, where they got 18 kills in their last game or second to last game, and then ended up killing themselves so they could get their last Q in less than 3 zones.
Yeah.
Nobody saw that. Nobody saw that because it was a hot drop and we just completely skipped it. Whereas for Shiloh now, we could actually go in and watch that. If that was a thing that was happening, we could go in because we knew, okay, this next game for Zayt and Saf is gonna be a hot drop. We got to watch this, So that end game strategy, nah, doesn't work. We should never do that again, in my mind.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So do you think that I think also another reason why people tend to like your streams more is because you follow the storyline, you follow the popular players, you follow the leaderboard a lot more closely. I feel like the Fortnite streams were a lot more just random, and they were just oh, this guy got 6 kills this end game, so we're gonna watch him for this end game. And you were kind of forced to watch it. That's kind of how it's chosen, right? Yeah. So basically, it sucks, man, because they want to give the spotlight to those people who aren't known. But at the end of the day, man, just there's just not a lot of people who are gonna care, man. There's just not.
They don't. Here's the thing, though. They show the spotlight on somebody who, they played well, but they're irrelevant on the long term. Guess what? They got 6 kills in an end game with nobody in it. Very cool. I don't care. But if we followed here's the thing. They would have missed Nanolight's pop off completely at any other tournament.
Yep.
They would have missed it completely because he's an unknown and he's just playing consistent. But he didn't have 7 kills in an end game, so we would never have watched him in the replay mode. You know what I'm saying? That is stuff that happens. Same with Brezzo at AO. Actually, perfect example because we had the live spec mode. We never watched him a single time.
Yeah, he came out of nowhere in that tournament.
Exactly, because they just didn't understand what to watch and what to focus on until it was too late. You know what I'm saying? And I try to give feedback to every observing team I can, but that's a choice that sorely, ruins the experience I have as a viewer, because guess what happens? We have the winning moment, the winning ceremony, where funny enough, Brezzo won his last game at AO2, and it was just as a pop-off of Mr. Savage, but it meant nothing because I had no clue what he did before. So I watched the winning
didn't even know
ceremony.
he
I'm
was in
like,
contention.
huh.
Like
Exactly. I'm like,
Yeah.
huh, who is this
Yeah.
guy?
And that's something that Aussie Antics
Turn off
did
the
on
stream.
his stream. Yeah, and that's something that Aussie Antics did on his stream where he was telling his chat kind of his thought process. He's like, yeah, guys, we have all these other streams up, but we're going to watch these players who are, you know, on the borderline of, you know, qualifying for finals.
Yep.
And we're going to watch these guys who, you know, maybe, you know, they're not an in game, but this mid game matters. You know, there's
Yeah.
a story behind it. I guess the more that I've heard you guys talk about this, it's not really the serious versus silly. It's more just the randomness and just
It's
like,
just the
oh,
choices.
here's a guy popping off. Here's another guy popping off. But it's just a guy, you know, it's not, oh, here's, you know,
Yeah.
like we were
The
watching.
moral of the story is stop showing irrelevant players and start showing the relevant players no matter what they're doing. Because Nanolite popping off is not that exciting. But guess what? It is exciting because he just got third.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
it changed everything.
If even like you said, if somebody's popping off, but they're like last on the leaderboard, then like nobody cares. If Nanolite's just sitting in a box, it's still still feels tense. It's like, oh my god, like what is he gonna do next? Is there somebody gonna just like jump into his box? Like what's gonna happen? You know,
You
it's
have to
still
set the
more of a
intense.
build-up.
Yeah,
You don't
right.
get so
You have to
numb
set the
just
stakes. You see Nanolite sitting in a box. Guess what I say? He's second place. Okay. He's about to have to make a rotation for 6
Yeah,
zones.
exactly.
Like, I'm already getting more hype because I'm like,
Yeah,
if he gets a far zone, this changes everything. He has the 4 floppers to work with. But is it gonna be enough? Like, boom! All of a sudden, I'm all more invested. I'm literally yelling right now, just getting hype about
I'm
it.
hype. I'm hype. I'm literally
Let's
hype
fucking
talking about
go!
it.
Let's watch this shit.
like if your complaint is that there's no way I would want to watch somebody in a box, like if you don't think that a good production crew can't still make that entertaining and engaging, like your head's under, you know, in the sand under a rock. Like you haven't been watching Balla, you haven't been watching Shy, you haven't been watching Aussie Antics. I mean, heck, even Tom like was doing a fantastic job with his 72 hours with his viewing party, right? So like
a great job.
Yeah, it's there. We're there. We're getting there. You know, like
something about the leaderboard. Like it's 2020. We've been out for 2 years and we don't have a live leaderboard. I want to see people change their places on the scoreboard. I told a story on stream about actually Poach and Vivid dueling in Summer Skirmish week 4, where Vivid was ahead by like 4 points or something like that. He was alive. Poach was alive. 5 people left. Poach could have won if he had just gotten all 4 kills. But because he didn't know and because the viewer didn't know at all what he needed to do to win, nobody cared. Poach boxed up, didn't even fight Vivid. I think he might have ended up winning the game, but it didn't matter because nobody knew what the score was. And so all that moment that we just felt, the excitement and the tension went out the window. It was completely gone. It's like, oh, Vivid won. Woohoo, Vivid, 2-time skirmish winner. Like, fuck yeah, that's cool. But but it could have been, you know, it's a what could have been. Yeah. That's basically my thoughts on the viewing experience.
That's that was a good point, Balla. That was a really good point. That led to
solid work.
I was like, wow.
Yeah, I think we're so far, like, even this is the kind of things that Balla you've been talking about, you know, even back in episode 2, episode 4, when we had like Shio, Monster D-Face on the first time, you know, and we got into a lot of these conversations. We were fresh off of World Cup, or, you know, still involved in World Cup, and you can really point out, like, you guys have been getting so much better. The observing teams have become so much better than what we've seen from official broadcasts that I can only hope, man, that they've watched with a close eye and they'll be rolling in a lot.
On one end. On one end, because sorry, go ahead. Last thing before we close out.
Like the World Cup was a jump above all the previous Epic broadcasts. I do want to include that. Like, it is getting better, so there is hope. I just was kind of asking how, you know, they're going to do it.
Yeah. So one thing about the World Cup is they improved significantly since Secret Skirmish in terms of observing and following the right stories, but they still messed up a lot of different things. And again, it's not no fault of the observing team because they got really, really good. It's just that Epic wanted to see different things. One thing that I noticed during World Cup was that we're afraid of showing things that were missed, and we're afraid of showing things that are irrelevant, even though they could be interesting. Like, second game, Boga had just won his first game. He was ahead by like, I don't know, 5 points or something like that. And he died in a mid-game fight. And I called for the replay. I'm like, hey, let's show this. You got to show this, a replay at least. And they vetoed it because they were already onto something else and it was different action or whatever. But to me, that little thing, Boga dying off of spawn, is so important because
That has a
guess what?
huge
He
impact
won
on the
the
whole
turn-
lobby. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
a
All of a sudden,
huge
the stakes
moment.
completely change for the entire lobby and the viewers specifically. It's like, oh shit, Boga died. He's not running
It's
away
a
with this
comeback
just
chance.
yet.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And then the last thing is in terms of observing. Poach said in chat, like, we need to hire observers who are focused on comp, and that's why I'm kind of pushing third-party tournaments and third-party productions specifically, like Nikolai's team and Fung's team. You know, these guys who you guys probably have no clue, but they're learning how to observe. They're learning how to use the replay mode because it's important for you to have a competitive perspective when picking who to watch. But one of the things that we suck at from practice production, I shouldn't say we, I'm not part of that, but Nico's team and Funk's team, we straight up suck at showing things in a beautiful way, in a beautiful manner, you know? Like the Epic team does. Like when they do a zoom in on a fight, bro, it's wonderful. When they swerve through in fifth zone to switch from one player to another, it's amazing looking.
Yeah.
Like all we have to do is combine the two. All of a sudden, the observing team is wonderful. All of a sudden, the experience is fantastic, and we can focus on those tense moments.
Yeah, I agree completely. Thanks so much, Bangarang, for bringing this topic. Really appreciate it, and thanks for coming back so often.
Yeah, for sure. See you next week.
See you
All
then,
right, brother. See you next week.
Bye.
Peace out.
You know, that's an interesting thing, Vivid. This kind of reminded me of how are playing in those third-party events. Are those, you know, from a player's perspective, obviously they're handled a little
Like
differently. They're
Dreamhack?
Discord events. No, I mean even like War Legend, you know, invitationals, that kind of stuff.
Oh, I
Have
mean,
you
it's
played any?
no, not really.
Oh,
Well, you played like Code Red, probably, right?
Yeah, like I mean, it's fairly easy, man. Like everybody's always made it easy. Like
okay.
I think, yeah, like online stuff is usually really easy. They just, whether it be like customs. I mean, all like the War Legend stuff like that, it just ran to like a custom code. It's just like, hey, here's a custom code, go ahead, and then they just track through Mayhem, probably, which Mayhem does like a really good job.
Yeah.
But like I mean, yeah, it's usually like super easy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I think that's it for this episode. Vivid, thanks so much for coming on the show. We had a blast. I hope everyone had a good time hearing your takes on their takes. Why don't you let everyone know what you're going to be getting up to in the coming weeks, months, and where they can find you getting up to it?
In the coming weeks, I'll be hopefully streaming. Who knows? We'll see. I say that like every month.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens.
We'll see.
Trying to go into a routine. I've been going to the gym, and after I am not sore every day after the gym or like before it, I wanna start the stream back up for at least a couple hours a day. Just gonna be playing Fortnite, grind Fortnite, getting better at Fortnite. And I would love to tell you like what I would be practicing, but I have no idea because there's no announcement yet. So we will see. Stay tuned.
It might be duos.
Yeah, other than
It
that,
might be trios. Who knows?
just hanging out. Being
Heck
me.
yeah. That's fantastic. That's great. Well, once again, thanks so much, Vivid. Thanks for coming on, and I hope you have a fantastic evening. Bye.
Thank you.
All right, Balla. Another successful episode in my book. Episode 23. Obviously, you're fresh off of Dreamhack. You were hitting some streams today. What's going on for you in the coming little bit?
Just doing some stuff at PAX East, fairly nearby, so it's not far for me to go out of my way. I'm gonna be checking out the event. I'm gonna doing some small stuff, nothing related to Fortnite, unfortunately. But besides that, what else am I doing? Streaming, VOD reviewing. I'm gonna VOD review Nanolate hopefully tomorrow.
Ooh.
It depends how fast I get back from PAX East. But he's basically the only person to VOD review because
Yeah.
all the replays are not usable, and so being the fact that he's only the only one in like the top 5 who streamed, there you go.
There it
That's who
is.
I end up with, which is cool. I really want to VOD review Nanolate because, again, like I said, not necessarily the most explosive player, but he did what he needed to do. So that's what me up to. Obviously, Balla TW everywhere. I'll see
all
you
the
guys
places.
next time.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thanks, Balla. Have a good night.
Good night, guys. Good night, guys.
All right. That's Hotline FN, episode 23. Share it with your family. Share it with your friends. There was a rhyme there. That means you have to do it when it rhymes. As always, make sure you support all the lovely people who make Hotline FN work. We got mods in the chat. Big round of applause for them. We've got That's Sick in the Discord handling all the calls. Incredibly helpful. Make sure that I don't get any of you psychos in here on the hotline, which is unbelievably useful. And make sure you throw follows, subscribes, likes, all of it. Throw it at VividFN on Twitter, Vivid on Twitch, BallaTW everywhere. Like and subscribe it all. Do it all. Do it all. Support the things you like so we get more of the things we like. And of course, pretty please, follow and subscribe here at twitch.tv/TIMMCD to directly support Hotline FN. And of course, we also have the YouTube channel where all episodes appear a day or two after they air, and the podcast format as well, which can be found on Spotify, iTunes, anywhere and everywhere you like to listen to your podcasts. So that said, as always, thank you for watching Hotline FN.